Hello, we are part of Group 6. We had workplace communication, and we are going to give a little bit of information on how businesses can continue with good workplace communication, history and background of it. And yeah, so here we go.
Diving into the history and the background of effective communication, especially within the workplace, it definitely intrigued me, especially as we are moving into our own professional spaces, seeing how technology has really taken everything by storm. It was very evident to me that this transaction and transition was going to be something that I wanted to talk about. So today I'm going to talk about the background and history of the effective communication within the workplace. So starting off, I found more research that talked about how rigid it used to be. It used to be very structured, face-to-face communication. So maybe body language would be more evident and more important. Historically, hierarchies were really, really big, and manager to manager is how you would talk instead of now today with technology being so advanced and things changing. We're now allowed to communicate whenever we need, essentially. Obviously, there are times where you know when your email is going to be answered. But in terms of effective communication, we have video chats, we have things that have changed. And that really came with the Industrial Revolution as we move towards being more advanced and trying to be as advanced as possible. We've definitely taken it by storm and taken the advantages of what it means to be up to date and using technology to the fullest extent. So that was really what I learned with background in history. It was just the history of how it used to be very rigid and very structured, whereas now we're able to flow a little bit more freely, but still have that respect. And communication with technology makes that much easier.
All right, that was Aaliyah talking about the history and background.
Workplace communication is one of the most essential pieces of the business puzzle. Many would even call it the key to a successful organization. But why is it so important? Well, first, communication boosts productivity. Research shows that well connected teams experience a 20 to 25% increase in productivity. And employees who feel included through their detailed communication, whether it's within their coworkers or their manager, they're most likely to be more productive. And who doesn't want productive workers? When people clearly understand the expectations and goals, they work more efficiently and confidently with the task that was provided to them. Second, strong workplace communication builds trust. When employees know their coworkers have their back, the workplace feels less like a competition and more like a team moving toward the same mission, the same goal that's going to help the business grow. Open and honest communication removes unnecessary stress and creates an environment where people feel supported. Finally, communication drives engagement, which ties everything together. Engaged employees are known to perform a better, stay longer, and contribute more to the company. In fact, high engagement can reduce turnover by 51% in low turnover organizations and 21% in high turnover ones. When employees feel like more than just a number, their motivation and loyalty grow with the company. Overall, effective workplace communication strengthens productivity, trust, and engagement, all of which help the company thrive, which brings in more numbers, brings more people to shop with the company or support the company, leaves good reviews more than the negative ones. When communication flows, people feel connected, valued, and ready to contribute their best to the company. Yeah.
All right, and that was Fatimia with talking about why workplace communication is important. And now we are going to move on to the next presenter, and that is Barflor.
All right, and today I'm going to be talking about workplace communication environment. And this matters a lot, and I'm going to show you how this matters by the way it shapes how people interact on the job. First off, communication doesn't just happen by itself. It's not something that you can isolate, and it only can work when an environment is built with real organizational culture. When you have different things, kind of like trust and clarity, teamwork, and people actually understanding each other, this will help communication workflow efficiently and help with productivity as well as efficiency. When the environment is bad, the culture is off, the communication will also be off. There are different types of ways that we see this in the environment, and it will just kind of show how employees talk to each other. They'll be kind of distanced, kind of disillusioned. This overall hurts the workplace communication environment. A big part of this is a psychological climate. This basically means how safe people feel in the workplace, as well as do employees really trust each other. Do employees feel comfortable speaking up? Because when you're an employee and you're in a meeting or having something with upper management and you don't feel comfortable sharing your ideas, it actually will hurt the productivity and the efficiency of the company. Also about feeling sharing ideas in group settings, in terms of collaboration. Do you feel like you're judged? Do you feel like your ideas really matter? And so kind of building this environment where you kind of have that credibility, that respect, and that emotional intelligence to be aware of other people's feelings is very important in company culture. And when people feel valued, they will feel a lot better putting these different things into place. When employees feel heard, the communication will become easier, more honest, and a lot more productive, as I've said already. The environment will set the tone. The environment that the community sets for the company kind of will force other employees to kind of live in this way. When you build a space that is grounded in trust and clarity, everything will run more efficiently, as well as collaboration, decision making from upper management, as well as problem solving. Without that foundation, even the simplest things will become difficult because people aren't communicating well. Communication is one of the most important facets of anything successful because if you cannot communicate, you'll not be able to collaborate. As you know, two is always better than one. So at the end of the day, a strong communication environment is essential to a strong workplace in the community, as well as is literally the difference between a workplace that struggles and one that operates at a very high level. And when people feel respected, the culture will support the real communication, and the entire organization will benefit from these effects.
Right. Thank you all. Now I'll be presenting on past solutions to workplace communication. From my research on past solutions to workplace communication, I realized that every generation of workers had to deal with the same basic problem, which is figuring out how to share information efficiently. And as workplaces got bigger and jobs became more specialized, companies kept trying to find new ways to keep everyone on the same page. In the early 1900s, communication was very basic. Most instructions were spoken and written by hand or posted somewhere in the workplace. As businesses expanded in the mid 1900s, technology started to play a bigger role. Typewriters made written communication cleaner and easier to read. Telephones cut down on waiting times by letting people talk directly to each other instead of waiting for mail or messages. Intercom systems also became common for quick announcements and communication. And during the same period, management styles were shifting with more emphasis on teamwork and employee involvement. By the end of the century, digital tools took over. Emails quickly became one of the main ways people shared information across different locations. Tools like fax machines, pagers, and early cell phones helped deliver time-sensitive messages a lot faster. These technologies made communication more flexible and it made it easier for people to stay connected even when they weren't in the same room. And as workplaces moved into the 2000s, companies started using internet, shared digital folders, and early instant messaging platforms like Teams, Skype, and all that kind of stuff. And these systems help centralize information, cut down on the amount of paper employees had to sort through as well when communicating with each other. And it made it easier to find what you needed and all the information you needed as well. And just looking at all these changes, you can see a very clear pattern. Each tool, whether it be the typewriter, text messages, internet, they helped fix the issue the previous one couldn't, and it made communication a lot more efficient.
Thank you for that, Carter. Today I'm going to be talking about workplace communication in the modern day. So, workplace communication today is heavily shaped by the diversity and technology we use in the workplace. Understanding different channels of communication and who it is we are communicating with is more integral than ever. Now, especially with more and more of Gen Z entering the workforce, we are seeing more generational diversity than there has ever been, excuse me. With this diversity comes a lot more nuances and things to consider when talking about workplace communication today. We can see the very tangible differences in how these generations like to communicate, whether that be with older generations preferring more face to face communication, like presentations or team meetings, or Gen X preferring emails, or the younger generation, Gen Z, preferring more direct and fast paced communication styles like phone calls, text messages, or video calls. The effect that this new generational problem has on workplace communication has become very clear. Today, being flexible enough to learn and use different technologies, as well as being able to understand and effectively communicate with others that are different generations, maybe they be different race, is very is a very valuable skill to have.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Antoine McPherson. I am a senior business management student from Chicago, Illinois. Today, I'll be going over effective recommendations for effective workplace communications. Workplace communications is important because it drives teamwork, productivity, and positive work culture. It also helps the organization grow to be diverse and tech driven. Communication must be intellectual and adaptable. Communication is key because it reduces confusion, mistakes, and frustration. Managers should use simple and direct tones and avoid unnecessary talk when speaking to different people within their organizations. Face to face communication is good for those who like face to face. Zoom is good for those who's not so well with coming in office or they are not used to actually coming in because of COVID. Also, a phone call. You have to know your clients to know if they want to be on the phone, if they face to face, or if they rather do Zoom call because of like the work from home orders. Also, effective communication clears any tone, anything that you may think that is wrong with the tone if somebody's talking over the phone or on a Zoom call. If you're face to face and you're effectively communicating, then you know there's no attitude here. There's no frown on my face. It's a smile on my face, and I don't want you to get any wrong ideas with how I speak because this is just the way that I speak. Those are my key tips on effective communication and why communication is important throughout the workplace. And I think that every manager should adapt to making sure that they are effective with their communication, knowing their clients, knowing their employees, and knowing how they should communicate.
And I'm going to talk about what businesses can do moving forward with as far as continuing to improve workplace communication. With technological advances, AI is being used more and more throughout the workplace, and especially with communication, it makes things more streamlined. It gets information to the right departments in a quicker way, and it helps not only the employees, but it helps customers in certain businesses as well. Hybrid communication is another way that businesses should move forward with their communicating with employees, whether that's through, I think COVID-19 was a good beginning start to how hybrid communication in the workplace was with virtual meetings, and then there were still face-to-face meetings, but it's continuing to move towards more virtual phone calls, as Isaiah said, text messages and emails as well. And I think workplaces need to continue moving in the direction of technological advancements. Another thing that I think that has gotten better over the years is how managers and employees are able to have really tough conversations with each other in workplace communication, and that absolutely needs to move forward. I've noticed in a lot of work environments that those types of conversations make things healthier and it makes employees feel better about being able to move and go to their managers with uncomfortable things. So, as far as workplace communication moving forward and what needs to be done, technological advancement with AI, hybrid communication, and just making sure that managers are listening to their employees and having those tough conversations that are really uncomfortable, because that's how you move forward in businesses in general. So I think that is the end of our presentation. Thank y'all so much, and we hope y'all enjoyed this quick little presentation on workplace communication. That is all.